For years, before he was, reelected, and recently, since they all got into office, a bunch of high-ranking people in Trump's administration have kept promising to release the files surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, his mysterious clients, and his suspicious death. But now, suddenly, for reasons that I legally cannot think of, Donald Trump seems desperate to stop us from knowing who Jeffrey Epstein's clients were.
We have, 100 days behind us and only 13 more 100 days to go. It's been an historic 100 days. Some would say prehistoric. It is difficult to give Trump's first 100 days a grade, but if I had to, I'd say it falls somewhere between F and U.
When Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel aim at Trump, they don't just roast, they detonate every illusion wrapped in gold plating and ego. This isn't comedy, it's demolition with rhythm. The man who turned politics into reality TV gets dragged across the satire stage with punchlines so sharp they leave dents. From bizarre decisions to baffling statements, Colbert and Kimmel turn every blunder into pure late-night gold. Trump wanted a spotlight, but he got a spotlight with fire instead.
Unlike your ability to sleep at night, the Epstein scandal will not go away. The president denied that Attorney General Pam Bondi informed him that his name was in the Epstein files. So naturally, last night, the Wall Street Journal reported that Attorney General Pam Bondi informed the president that his name was in the Epstein file.
Well, it was another wildly destructive day in Washington, D.C. They pulled another all-nighter in the House last night where they passed Trump's big, beautiful bill. And man, oh man, if this is the beautiful bill, I'd hate to see the ugly one. I'm not sure which part of the bill is the most beautiful. I don't know if it's the part where we take food from hungry kids or the devastating effect it'll have on college education or the trillions of dollars it will add.
Donald Trump didn't just redefine politics, he turned it into a live-action cartoon where logic took a permanent vacation and ego got a 24-hour megaphone. Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel aren't even roasting at this point. They're performing a public service, dragging a gold-plated circus act back into the reality most people live in. This isn't satire anymore. It's pest control with punchlines.
I do too. It's a great day to be me because I am not Donald Trump. That guy has got a lot of problems. First of all, the Jeffrey Epstein scandal just won't kill itself. And we might have a hint why Trump hasn't been that eager to release those files. Because according to Senator Dick Durbin, back in March, 1,000 FBI agents were put on 24-hour shifts to review approximately 100,000 Epstein-related records and instructed to flag any documents that mentioned...
If you're enjoying this video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Imagine a man who believes every podium is a throne, every sentence is a scripture, and every awkward photo op is high art. Trump strutted across stages like a pageant queen who lost the crown but insisted the judges were corrupt and the system was rigged. He didn't run a country. He auditioned for an ego documentary. There wasn't a camera he didn't love or a mirror he didn't salute. The man could hold a press conference in a burning building and still find a way to praise the wallpaper.
Donald Trump was not at the Met Gala last night. He has been at the Met Gala. He was not there, even though he's done more for black style than any president, including Abraham Lincoln. Trump met today with Mark Carney, the new Prime Minister of Canada and future Governor of North Montana. Ahead of the meeting, Trump posted about how we don't need anything from Canada. We don't need their cars or energy or lumber or anything they have. But then when the new Prime Minister showed up in person, it was as if they were a couple of...
Colbert doesn't need exaggeration. Trump's every move is already bloated with enough comedy to fuel late-night writers for a decade. The endless hand gestures, the vocabulary that's 3 adjectives deep, and a sentence structure so broken it should come with a construction permit. Every speech was like a suspense novel, except the suspense was whether he'd finish a thought without losing the plot entirely. Kimmel doesn't even need to write jokes. He just rewatches clips like a comedy archaeologist uncovering ancient relics of delusion.
He's so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life.
That sentence was never a big factor in terms of word.
Policy-wise, it was a magic trick with no payoff. The man promised everything short of immortality, then delivered headlines, hashtags, and press briefings that felt like fever dreams. Healthcare was going to be simple. International diplomacy was just about chemistry. Trade wars were easy to win. What followed was a 4-year-long crash course in reality, starring a guy who thought strategy meant tweeting in capital letters at 3 a.m.
Poor Mark Carney had a hell of a job today. It was like an Ewok going to a meeting on the Death Star. He handled it well, though. He handled it very well. He came prepared, and in a friendly way, he made sure Trump knows they have no intention of becoming our 51st state.
As you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace, that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale.
That's true. He doesn't take no.
Colbert peels through the performance like a master satirist, the self-declared genius who couldn't spell simple words, the business expert whose companies filed bankruptcy like it was a sport, the patriot who cozied up to dictators while waving a flag and declaring himself the greatest thing since sliced freedom. Every contradiction is a punchline. Every boast is a setup. Every meltdown is a season finale. Jimmy Kimmel delivers with surgical timing. He takes Trump's obsession with crowd size, ratings, and photo angles and turns them into a masterclass in comedic humiliation. How do you take someone seriously who treats a global crisis like an improv skit? Who sells merchandise faster than facts? Who thinks signing executive orders is the same as solving problems? The only thing more inflated than Trump's promises were his golf scores. And then there's the wall, that infamous monument to logic-defying fantasy. Somehow, it was going to be big, beautiful, and paid for by someone else. 4 years later, it was part fence, part Photoshop, and entirely punchline.
Even MAGA is demanding answers. 11 congressional Republicans have said they will join Democrats to vote to release the Epstein files. That would be a majority of Congress. So, in response, today, Speaker Mike Johnson shut down the House until September to block a vote on the Epstein files. It's a common parliamentary maneuver known as You cannot blame Trump and his allies for being scared here, because the more we know about Trump's relationship with Epstein, the more we wish we didn't.
Colbert turns it into a symbol, not of border control, but of misplaced priorities and architectural delusion. Kimmel spins it into a metaphor for everything else Trump touched, half-finished, overhyped, and surrounded by unpaid contractors. The pandemic exposed more than just a virus. It revealed a leadership style that made denial look like doctrine and press briefings feel like game shows. While the world looked for answers, Trump looked for ways to blame thermometers, testing, or maybe invisible enemies. Colbert's roast isn't even roast, it's triage. Kimmel doesn't even have to punch down. He just narrates the disaster like it's a parody script no one bothered to rewrite. Then came the election aftermath, a soap opera so absurd it would have been rejected by daytime television. Trump clung to power like a toddler clutching a toy he already broke. Lawsuits flew, logic died, and the reality show finale dragged on longer than a Netflix reboot. Colbert and Kimmel tore through the tantrums like comedic chainsaws, turning courtroom drama into sketch comedy. It wasn't an election. It was a fireworks show where every rocket fizzled out and Trump blamed the sky. And yet, somehow, the brand survived. Trump the personality remains louder than Trump the president ever was. He shows up at rallies like a retired boxer who insists the fight isn't over. He sells merchandise, drops statements, and hijacks headlines like he's still in office.
We don't know if he was doing the creepy crime, but we do have a cover-up. And just like the cover-up on his face, it is patchy and there's something really ugly under there. The incriminating details just keep coming out. For instance, this resurfaced 2010 Jeffrey Epstein deposition.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Okay, that's a slam dunk. Just say no. Okay, take it away, Jeffrey.
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
Kimmel mocks it like a glitch in the American system, a software bug that somehow keeps rebooting. Colbert treats it like a tragic sequel nobody asked for, but everyone's forced to watch. His media empire is a carnival of conspiracy, starring Trump as the ringmaster of reality rejection. The truth becomes whatever fits the vibe of the crowd, and every contradiction is dismissed as fake news, witch hunts, or jealous critics. Colbert slices through the chaos, showing how a man allergic to accountability turned every question into an attack and every failure into someone else's fault. Kimmel adds the cherry on top, how the man who claimed to drain the swamp somehow became its decorator-in-chief. The obsession with loyalty, the vendettas against late-night hosts, the endless parade of former allies turned enemies, all part of the Trump cinematic universe, a revolving door of sycophants, scandals, and scapegoats. It wasn't governance, it was reality TV with nuclear codes. Colbert doesn't even blink while dragging the legacy across the stage. He just holds up a mirror and lets the absurdity speak louder than any punchline. And those endless, mind-bending interviews where reporters asked questions and Trump responded like he was playing Mad Libs with national security. His answers ranged from baffling to unprintable, often leaving the country more confused than before.
Oklahoma City to Indianapolis. Is that a finals matchup or an empty leg on Southwest? I mentioned last night that our team here in LA, the Lakers, have new owners. The Buss family is selling the Lakers after 46 years. They've owned it since 1979 when Dr. Jerry Buss bought the team for $37 and a bag of cocaine. This sale is reported to be valued at around $10.
Kimmel repackages them like found footage from an alternate dimension where sense and syntax were banned. It wasn't a press strategy, it was a parody performance with real-world consequences. And let's not overlook the parade of firings. Staff came and went like it was a reality show elimination round. You're out, you're fired, you're disloyal, you blinked wrong. Colbert takes that chaos and holds it up as Exhibit A in the Museum of Dysfunction. Kimmel treats it like a sitcom, except the laugh track is replaced with international facepalms and late-night despair. His fixation on being loved by celebrities while simultaneously trashing Hollywood was a psychological riddle wrapped in a tabloid. He wanted to be adored by the very world he claimed to despise. Colbert spins that into gold, showing how a man desperate for cultural relevance found himself the punchline of every award show, monologue, and meme. Kimmel wraps it with a bow. Trump, the critic who wanted to be the star, ended up as comedy's most generous benefactor. And the economy? He took credit for everything that rose and blamed the universe for everything that fell. It was the financial equivalent of a gambler shouting jackpot after borrowing someone else's chips.
Last night, Trump, who is the president, left the G7 conference a full day early. The other world leaders assumed he left to work on a ceasefire in the Middle East, but Trump denied that. He said it has nothing to do with the ceasefire, much bigger than that. And today, we know what it was he was working on. He posted this: "It is my great honor to announce that I will be putting up 2 beautiful flagpoles on both sides of the White House. It is a gift from me. These are the most magnificent poles made. They are tall, tapered, rust-proof, rope inside the pole and of the highest."
Colbert laughs through the smoke and mirrors, spotlighting how Trump's tax cuts for billionaires and record-breaking stock market highs somehow never reach the people working 2 jobs just to stay afloat. Kimmel spins it into a mockumentary, The Illusion of Prosperity, narrated by spin, inflated numbers, and unshakable bravado. Then came the social media chaos. The man still governing by tweet now floods timelines daily with caps lock declarations and shifting realities. Colbert frames it as America's ongoing digital fever dream, unfiltered, unedited, and unrelenting. Kimmel calls it poetic irony, a president who weaponized the algorithm now dancing inside its echo chamber, turning every post into policy and every rant into a headline. The noise is constant, like static in a country craving peace and clarity. Yet even midterm into his second term, Trump looms larger than ever. Rallies blur into press conferences, executive orders into campaign slogans. Every day feels like a rerun of a show too wild to cancel. Colbert parodies it like a reality TV star who never left the set. Kimmel presents it as a sequel no one greenlit, but we're all somehow trapped in.
His skin seems to be falling off. Trump was speaking on the White House lawn earlier this week, and see if you can pinpoint the moment the cameraman got a little distracted.
At the end of 50 days, if we don't have a deal, it's going to be too bad.
Well, get more aggressive.
Yeah, the tariffs are going to go on, and other sanctions go on.
Holy Sephora sample counter.
Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel don't need to fabricate anything. The raw material is already soaked in parody. From Sharpie-modified weather maps to beefs with appliances, every bizarre moment became part of a legacy built on confusion, contradiction, and catastrophic self-regard. And no matter how many times he insists the world was unfair, the punchline remains the same. It was a show with no script, no plan, and no director. Just a star with no filter and an audience forced to live with the ratings. And the best part? This roast doesn't need a mic drop. The mic dropped itself the moment Trump declared he was the best at everything. Colbert and Kimmel just picked it up, wiped it clean, and turned it into comedy gold. And with every new headline, every return to the spotlight, every cryptic statement from the bunker of delusion, the material writes itself. This isn't the end. This is the intermission. The roast resumes with every tantrum, every rally, every attempt to turn chaos into comeback. Because Trump may have left the stage, but his ego is still front and center, and the jokes write themselves. The demolition continues, and just when you think the chaos had hit its ceiling, Trump found new ways to punch holes through it. Whether it was reappearing to endorse candidates like a game show host who lost the script or teasing comebacks that sounded like rejected movie trailers, he stayed glued to the headlines with the desperation of a washed-up soap actor clinging to a reboot. Colbert points out that even his comebacks feel like reruns, just louder, angrier, and somehow less coherent.
On Saturday, Trump had this his much-anticipated Stupid Sweet 16, disguised as a tribute to the U.S. Army he bone-spurred his way out of. After all the hype and money, somewhere around $50 million, it was boring. It was basically a $50 million version of when a 5-year-old shows you every car in his Hot Wheels collection. We paid for most of it, but he brought in some corporate sponsors, including the UFC, a crypto company, and Scott's Miracle Grow, which is the product Trump used.
Kimmel rolls with the idea that Trump treats politics like a family business where loyalty matters more than laws, and outcomes depend on how many hats with your name on them you can sell in a single weekend. He's not interested in policy, he's interested in merchandising. Everything is branding. Infrastructure becomes a slogan, trade becomes a handshake photo, and national security becomes a meme. It's not leadership, it's limited edition chaos. Then there's the bizarre nostalgia he tries to sell, like a greatest hits album of confusion and slogans. He pitches the past as a paradise, but every rewind comes with flashbacks of press room meltdowns, Twitter rants, and international embarrassment. Colbert turns it into a live comedy special called Remember the Mess, while Kimmel files it under Please Don't Bring That Back. And yet the crowd still roars. The spectacle still draws. Because Trump isn't just a political figure, he's a walking plot twist in a drama that refuses to end. But as the spotlight dims and the jokes keep landing, one truth becomes clear. Trump may have dominated the screen, but his legacy is blooper reel material. Colbert and Kimmel aren't just mocking the man, they're torching the myth. And as long as he keeps stepping back into the frame, the roast stays hot, the script stays sharp, and the punchlines never stop coming.